Hey y'all. Today we're going to talk about one of the masters of Argentine literature and what we classify now as flash fiction. Let's go. Hey everybody, Noah. Everyone who reads It Must Converse is the channel. Thanks for coming back by. If you're new, then stick around. Today I'm just going to wet your whistle on Borges. If you've never read Borges, you're going to want to by the end of this. If you have read Borges, hopefully I inspire you to read more. Borges is an amazing writer and always someone you can go to, any collection, poetry included, essays included, you can just go to and dip in, and uh, it is all so very thought provoking. That might be the best descriptor for Borges overall, is that no matter who you are, no matter where you're at, coming into contact with Borges' works makes you think about your life, makes you reflect on what reality really is. Borges stays in a very heady spot. I think intellectually, one of the most rich authors that there ever were, but his poetry is very, very strong. The red collection here spans his whole career, and I dip into it all the time. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. I will say that I gain a lot from the poetry from his written works, his short fiction. You get a better sense of the themes and things that he's interested in. Borges was very, very good at taking an idea, something very deep, a philosophical idea, or even a cosmological idea, what would be termed a scientific theory, and taking those things and looking at them from different viewpoints, like turning a gem around, seeing different facets of the same thing. And why I say they could be termed scientific theories is because when there are scientific theories that actually show up in his work, the short story might predate that theory actually coming out in the scientific community. It's awesome to see this kind of thing flower. It's one of the reasons why Borges is termed a mystic, even though he was very intellectual and even scientific a lot of times. He will be termed mystical because he's an artist, he's a poet, and exemplified these things. So something like the Garden of Forking Paths, you have a scientific theory that we know now because of how it is in the popular culture and has come out in books, movies, and things like that. But Borges did it first, and he did it before there was a scientific theory. Just an amazing thing. There is a lot of Borges content on my channel, so I'm just going to talk about Borges' individual writings and things like that just in passing, and just use it to illustrate. If you haven't come in contact with said piece, you could probably read it by the end of this video. And there is further discussion on my channel. I'll link it, the playlist below. So he goes into a lot of mythology and art and these kind of things. He was very well read, one of the most well read authors ever, probably. Somebody like Umberto Eco comes to mind. These authors that obviously needed a wide breadth of influences and loved these kind of things. The Arabian Nights, any kind of spiritual traditions show up in Borges' work in a subtle way, in a spiritual, in almost a spiritual kind of way, right? Because he was concerned with these kind of places in between fantasy and reality, dreams and memory, and whether something was true, capital T true, and remembered a different kind of way that way, that memory is actually what is true to the person, and what does that matter? And there is actually a story that predates and shows the Mandela effect happening real time in the story. Somebody actually rewriting their history before their death. It's just unbelievably epic how far he could reach in uh, in these ideas and come up with more and more substance every time, even though it's in these short works, right? They take you out into an open infinity and just kind of push you off, and you're just floating out there in an infinity, and you just feel Borges, kind of laughing like he's in there too, and there is comfortable in that spot. It's hard to take sometimes, just being in this, uh, being at home with paradoxes and using mystery and these kind of things as your substance in the writing. There's no shortage of allusions to things like Kabbalah and hidden knowledge and magical operations, alchemy, for example, things like that. But you get a sense that Borges is using this in a wider, what these things mean to the human being, rather than being an actuality that he feels, is that there is secret knowledge that just few have or something. That's the secret. The secret is that there is no secret, and calls to mind again Umberto Eco, right? Definitely some giants of literature. Borges, it's amazing to think what Borges might do with a book long work. I mean, I don't even think anybody could take it. he'd he'd really take you out and leave you out in the solar system somewhere. Borges loved mazes and loved the labyrinth and mirrors and these kind of things, and was very uh, interested in symbols and what symbols mean, and that something is what it is, but it also is what it symbolizes. And is that symbol more the essence of the thing or not? This kind of thing. Even an arrow, for example, right? An arrow itself. Now, or what is an arrow to us? An arrow to me points me in a direction. I would look in the direction that the arrow's pointing, and things like that. But an arrow, at some point, was a killing device, right? You see an arrow, and that is something that could kill you. And that is simply what it is. So, distilling these things down, using them in the most powerful way, was Borges' thing, and did it in a way that is very, uh, it's powerful, but it's also like you can't replicate this thing. So many people love Borges, and still you can't, distill an idea down and have a 4 pager or a 7 pager that really goes there. And he will do it with any kind of story he wants: a noir, a period piece, a historical fiction, an epic, sci-fi, or who knows. He goes all over the place. So I will say that the strongest things from Borges, in my experience, are the period of I guess it's the 40s, when he wrote fictions, and the Aleph was something that came out at the end, like maybe 49, if I remember correctly. And this period and the short pieces that came out and are in those two collections are some of the most inspiring reads. Almost everything that is cited as a favorite of the short works are from one of those two collections. Once you have an idea of Borges and have experienced those kind of things, Everything of Borges is a joy to read because you never know what he's going to do and where he's going to take you next. Borges is a character in a lot of Borges' work, and there is this kind of doppelganger going on, and also a public and a private Borges, but also a fictional and a non fictional Borges, right? And all this plays meta and um, philosophical and mystical, spiritual, psychoanalytical. It's all on the table and it's flexed. Very, very cool stuff. I hope I inspired you guys. If you like what you heard, check out the playlist. Anything that you've read that you've loved, I've probably talked about, like I said. But if not, leave me a comment. Let me know what you'd like to hear. More Borges, the better. And if I haven't talked about it yet, I'm more than happy to. What a great writer. Let me know what's your favorite thing by him. A short story or poetry or whatever it is, right? Catch you on the next one, BookTube. Bye-bye.